to say this makes my heart very proud to see all these people in here, so thank you so much for coming. My name is Lee Mundy. I am president of the board of the Arts Center, and I welcome you here to the beautiful Strand Theater. If you haven't seen it in a while, it's a little different. So tonight, though, we're not celebrating just the Strand. We're celebrating this amazing gift that several community people and other great people donated to this theater, and it makes it very, very special. So, the first person I would like to recognize is Louise Johnson. She and her husband we put an ad in the paper, an organ paper, and asked if anybody had an organ to donate, and they answered. So she does have a few words she wants to say to us, and so without further ado, Louise Johnson.
As I look back on the past 8 years, I realized that our part in this effort was easy compared to the work involved in the restoration of the Wurlitzer. The organ, as we called it, was part of our family for 50 years or so, with our children involved from the beginning to the grandchildren, climbing on and around the organ bench and occasionally being allowed to play gently and with supervision. Now, thanks to Jonathan and the diligent work of his various crews, the organ has been restored to its original condition, and the 1924 Wurlitzer has a new home in the restored 1924 Strand Theater. With Jonathan and his friends at the console, the North Country community can look forward to hours of entertainment and pleasure, and we are delighted that the organ will be cared for and enjoyed for years to come. Thank you.
Wow. There's a few more people that had a great hand in this, and the second one I want to introduce is Alan Tetroff and David Cohen. They are organ lovers also, and when they knew that we had taken the organ as far as we could, and it really needed professional help, Alan and David stepped up and wrote a check for $125,000 so that we could send this to Spencer Organ in Boston under the care of John to be totally refurbished and installed. So. something, I have something for you too, Ms. Johnson. In recognition of your donation, thank you to Alan and David for making possible the Plattsburgh Wurlitzer for the Strand Theater. And I will give this to you, and then I want Alan and David to say a few words.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. This is just the first of many, many more wonderful performances to be heard here at the Strand Theater. Little did Lee or Jonathan know when they first told David and I about the organ project that it had been my dream for years to see a theater organ back here in Plattsburgh. I have very fond childhood memories of hearing the Wurlitzer that once graced this beautiful hall. David and I firmly feel that our donation for the restoration of the Wurlitzer organ was not just about the instrument. Our gift was a gift to the city of Plattsburgh, a place we proudly call home. The Strand Theater and this organ will provide Plattsburgh for more than, the Strand Theater and this organ will provide more for Plattsburgh than any single business could ever do alone. The music, the dance, the comedy, the shows, the culture will attract people from a very wide region who will in turn settle in Plattsburgh, work in Plattsburgh, shop in Plattsburgh, and dine in Plattsburgh. The financial and cultural impact of this theater will be far-reaching and long-lasting. In short, the Strand is going to change Plattsburgh forever. As benefactors, David and I were given the opportunity to name the organ. It didn't seem proper to call it just the Tatro Cohen organ, or the Ortloff organ, or the Johnson organ. Because this rare instrument will soon be known worldwide, we chose to name it the Plattsburgh Wurlitzer at the Strand. It was only fitting to name the organ after Plattsburgh. Great minds that think alike and great minds that work together can produce great things. To the Johnson family, thank you for such a great gift. To Lee and Stephen Mundy, thank you for your great determination and boundless energy. To Jonathan Ortloff, thank you for your great vision and your perseverance. To all the volunteers and donators, thank you for your time and your great donations. And to all of you joining us here this evening, thank you for attending the first great performance of the Plattsburgh Wurlitzer at the Strand.
A long way, but we're not quite finished yet. As you can see, we found a screen that was in the Strand, and Peter built this great frame for us so we could use it during movies. So we do need to outfit this thing. We're still raising money for equipment, for lights, which Tom Lavin shared lights with us so we can talk. And so we're still working, but we have come a long way. So Alan and David said a whole lot. We do thank the volunteers, but I want to introduce somebody that was very, very important to this whole process, and that's John Ortloff. I mean, as a young man, he saw this as an amazing thing for us and tirelessly worked with volunteers restoring this and got it as far as he could. And they worked and worked and worked hours, many hours. So without further ado, and right before we get our performance underway, I want to introduce a very, very impressive young man, Jonathan Ortloff.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. Organ projects are notoriously complicated. If the instrument itself is, according to Balzac, the grandest, the most daring, the most magnificent of all instruments invented by the human genius, then certainly planning and executing the construction or the restoration of one must be equally as daring and grand. But organ projects don't happen in a vacuum. Specifically, organ projects in fledgling performing arts centers in northern New York. Behind all the complexity, the thousands of moving parts, the hundreds of pipes, the rows upon rows of keys and pedals and stops, there is a vision. And out of this vision grows belief therein. To survive and to succeed, the vision collects faithful along the way to support it. This project started with a very casual comment. Wouldn't it be great if we could have a Wurlitzer in the Strand again when the theater is restored? Sylvia Stack, the first president of the North Country Cultural Center for the Arts, uttered these words to me in 2004. I responded enthusiastically, and when she then asked me to find and restore a Wurlitzer for the Strand, I responded even more enthusiastically. The vision was born, and it had its first two believers. The third believer, however, was, without hyperbole, the reason we are all here tonight, and the reason this instrument is here tonight. Leonard Johnson and his wife Louise, who's with us tonight, knew the wonders of the Wurlitzer organ. They had this installed in their home for over 40 years. And in their 80s at the time, they knew the organ needed a new home, and hoped for a home where it would be loved, preserved, restored, and presented where thousands would enjoy it. The vision of which they needed convincing was the vision for this theater, for the success of its restoration, its mission to the community, and its commitment to caring for and presenting their Wurlitzer. A brief phone call convinced Len of this. He became a believer in the Strand and in his organ's place in it. Not only did he understand what we wanted to do here, but he wanted to support it. And so he offered to donate this priceless and irreplaceable instrument, this huge piece of his life, to us. We accepted, and now the vision had a focus. Organ projects are notoriously complicated, and now we have one. And while we knew it would be difficult, we knew that more important than the actual work we would have to do to the instrument, we had to make many more believers in the vision. It's moments like these in which small towns shine. People here knew the vision for the Strand. They'd already believed in it. They'd grown up with it. They'd watched it decline and were ecstatic to see its rebirth. And they all wanted to help. Being able to help with this particularly intriguing part of the project seemed to be irresistible. The list of local contributors in your program speaks for itself. There is, however, part of this congregation of believers in our vision that deserves special mention, praise, and heartfelt thanks. Organ projects, you see, are notoriously complicated. Not the least of all because the pipe organ itself is so intricately complex, and the work to restore one takes both skill and patience. Within our host of believers is an incredible group of people who literally grabbed onto the vision with both of their hands and didn't let go for 8 years. These are the volunteers who devoted these 8 years of their lives to restoring this organ piece by piece. Their vision was perhaps their belief in the vision was perhaps more tested than anyone else's. They saw this never-ending line of pieces and parts come into our little shop, and dutifully completed the tasks of cleaning, releathering, restoring, and reassembling. Not only were they believers in the vision, but they had the greatest faith of all. Faith that the thousands of pieces they were working on would one day be joined into a much greater whole, and would work, of course, to enable this tremendous machine to make music. Tonight they have the vindication of their work they completed without complaint, with tremendous attention to detail, and most importantly, with camaraderie and with good cheer. They became a devoted little family, and any success of this project we owe to their unshakable diligence and commitment. Tonight, I am intensely proud of them. The foundation of my own faith in our vision began to shake several years ago. The project had been going on for 7 years. With the funds we had received from numerous donors, we kept our work going slowly. I still believed in the vision, but realizing the enormity of the work remaining to be completed, my faith was cracking. At this rate, it would be another decade before the organ was completed. It was at this time, in 2011, that our two angels emerged in the forms of Alan Tatro and David Conrad. They asked for a proposal for what it would cost to complete the project and generally offered to fund it to completion. This was a great moment of validation for our vision, to have drawn in two people who so believed in it that they would underwrite its fruition. And then the final moment of evangelization to our vision happened in this very room just about 2 years ago. With the promise of funding secured, I approached my boss, Joseph Rotella, the president of Spencer Organ Company, about taking on the completion of this project. He was hesitant at first. Organ projects are notoriously complicated, and work performed by volunteers frequently needs to be redone. But on a day-long visit to Plattsburgh, as he toured the half-restored theater and inspected the organ work already completed by our crew, he became impressed with the work, and even more so by the intense community nature of this project. He wanted our company to be part of this community, to be part of this vision. We drew up a contract. I don't think I've ever slept as well as I did that night. I mentioned that organ projects don't happen in a vacuum. And now I want you all to see just what it took to fill that vacuum. On your program is a list of everybody who's been involved in this project. I would like them all to stand. Heard my name mentioned a lot tonight. Tonight is not about me. Tonight is about this. And it's about all the people you just saw standing, who believed in that vision and who saw it through to completion. Finally, I'll quote an email from one of our volunteers sent toward the end of our project. We were making those zillions of little pieces, none of which had the slightest meaning for us, and wondering if our work was any good. As if we were making an ocean liner or something, and wondering if our little parts would hold water, so to speak. Tonight, they have their answer. Organ projects are notoriously complicated. But once they're completed, the result could not be simpler. You just heard the journey this vision took over the last 9 years. And now, at the end of this journey, each of you Janice Tobin is going to come and sing for us. Janice, come on out.